Welcome to my presentation on Act 4 of Romeo and Juliet, and this is the speech where Juliet drinks the potion. Things that we should know about her is that she's scared. She's only 13 years old, but she's already shown signs that she's matured beyond her years. We can see that in her words, her thoughts, and her actions. But in the end, she's still just 13. She is in a difficult situation because she does not want to be a bigamist. She doesn't want to be married to two men. She is no longer a girl. She is a wife who would rather die than be dishonored um, by being with someone other than her husband. And we should also notice that in this speech and as the play continues, death is almost another character in the play. It is often portrayed as a rival lover for Juliet's affections, a paramour. My favorite picture. So, Juliet begins her speech by saying, "Farewell. God knows when we shall meet again. I have a faint cold fear that thrills through my veins, that almost freezes up the heat of life. I'll call them back again to comfort me." So Juliet is alone because her mother has gone and she has dismissed the nurse, and she's confronted with the vial and what she must do. The nurse, she's thinking about the nurse. She says, "Nurse, what should she do here? My dismal scene, I needs must act alone. Come, vial, what if this mixture do not work at all? Shall I be married then tomorrow morning? No, no, this shall forbid it. Lie thou there." And she places the dagger beside her. So we should notice that she again is isolated, having no one to turn to at this critical moment. She talks to the vial, which is an example of apostrophe. And if by some chance what's in that vial does not knock her out, she plans to commit suicide. So death is always lurking just beyond the shadows, or just in the shadows of this play. What if it be a poison which the friar subtly hath ministered to have me dead, lest in this marriage he should be dishonored, because he married me before to Romeo? I fear it is, and yet methinks it should not, for he hath still been tried a holy man. So her first concern is that the friar is trying to get rid of her to cover up the fact that he um, deceived her parents by marrying her to Romeo. And then she thinks, well, I don't think so because he is a priest and he wouldn't do such a thing. But she does wonder, is this really something in this vial that's going to kill me as opposed to help me? How if when I am laid into the tomb I wake before the time that Romeo come to redeem me? There's a fearful point. Shall I not then be stifled in the vault, to whose foul mouth no healthsome air breathes in, and there die strangled ere my Romeo comes? So she begins to go through a list of all the things that could happen to her in this vault. So she says, what if I wake before Romeo comes to get me, and I'm in the vault with all the foul air and I can't breathe and I suffocate to death? So her mind is going off into all these wild imaginings, which helps us also as an audience to realize how serious this is. It's not a benign act just laying her in that vault. Things could happen to her in there. Or if I live, it is not very like the horrible conceit of death and night, together with the terror of the place, as in a vault, an ancient receptacle, where for this many hundred years the bones of all my buried ancestors are packed. So she begins to think, I'm going to be placed in this vault, and there are generations of dead corpses in there, bones and people in various state of decay, and also Tybalt is in there, and he's newly dead. Where bloody Tybalt yet, but green in earth, lies festering in his shroud, where, as they say, at some hours in the night spirits resort. Alack, alack, is it not like that? I, so early waking, with what with loathsome smells and shrieks like mandrakes torn from the earth. So she here talks about Tybalt being newly dead. He's but green in earth. He's a fresh corpse. And she's going to be in there with him. And then she thinks about this plant that when you pull it from the ground, the legend is the plant makes a shrieking sound. And she's thinking that, the ghosts in there, the creepiness in there will be like listening to the shrieks of this plant, that living mortals hearing them run mad. Oh, if I wake, shall I not be distraught, environed with all these hideous fears, and madly play with my forefingers' joints, and pluck the mangled Tybalt from his shroud, and in this rage with some great kinsman's bones, as with a club dash out my desperate brains? So she continues on to her wild imagining, and she's basically describing her own descent into madness. So when she talks about, shall I not be distraught, um, and madly play with my forefathers' joints, she's talking, will I go crazy? Will I pick up the bones of my ancestors and start to play with them? And finally, she talks about even using the bones of her ancestors as a club to beat out her desperate brains. And insanity, being mad, has been kind of a motif that has been alluded to several times in the play. So here, Juliet, like Romeo, talks about the possibility of madness. She's going to drink the vial anyway. Oh, methinks I see my cousin's ghost seeking out Romeo, that did spit his body upon a rapier's point. Stay, Tybalt, stay! Romeo, 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 I drink to thee! And she downs the vial and falls upon her bed within the curtains. And we see that the last thing before drinking, she had this hallucination that she saw her dead cousin as a ghost looking for Romeo, seeking out Romeo, and she realizes that this is the only thing that she can do to be reunited with Romeo. So in this frenzy of mind, she knocks back that vial and falls prostrate on the bed. And there we have the illustration. Okay, so we should notice that this woman, as Harold Bloom said, is one of the most fully developed female characters in all of the English speaking literature. And when you look back at all of her speeches and her resolve, her courage, especially at such a young age, we see that this is no ordinary girl. And I hope this was help to you. Please use it to assist you in the homework. I didn't get to stop to talk talk about all the literary terms, so you can go back and stop the video as needed to help you complete your homework. Okay? See you soon. Shout out to my subscribers. Thank you for your support. Bye bye.